A deep secret was hidden in Aidan's eyes, which had become the biggest burden of his life. He was a boy who met everyone with a smile, but inside his heart there was a deep silence. People considered him an ordinary, cheerful young man, but no one knew that he lived every night, alone in his room, under the shadow of this secret. His childhood was also spent in a difficult and uncertain environment because of this secret. He had locked his emotions in an iron box whose key had been lost. Aidan's life at school was also spent in the shadow of fear. He could not express his emotions because he was afraid that if he did so, his secret would be exposed and people would consider him weak. He kept himself emotionally distant from everyone, and this habit of his was a sign of the storm inside him. He was imprisoned behind a wall that he had built himself, and which he did not have the courage to break. The moment that changed everything, one day, Aidan was sitting with his best friend John. John sensed that Aidan was very worried inside. He asked Aidan, "There is a pain in your eyes, which you try to hide. What is it?" Aidan looked at John. At that moment, he felt that perhaps he could no longer bear this burden alone. There was a helplessness in his eyes, and his voice was trembling. He told John that when he was little, his parents often argued. He often felt guilty in their quarrels. One night when they were arguing, he accidentally broke a glass. At this, his father angrily scolded him and said, "There is always a fight in the house because of you." This one sentence sat in his little mind forever. Aidan took a deep breath and said that since then he had become convinced that he was a failed person. "I always have this fear that wherever I go, I will bring misfortune and problems with me. I feel like I can't be anyone's good friend. I am a symbol of failure." There was so much pain in his voice that even John felt sad. He took Aidan's hand and said, "Aidan, it wasn't your fault. It was an accident. And your parents fighting wasn't your fault. It was their personal problem. This pain of yours is not your weakness. It can be your greatest strength." John's words shook the chains inside Aidan. For the first time, he realized that maybe he could turn his weakness into his strength. This was the moment when the direction of his life began to change. Aidan believed John and began to look at his emotional problems from a new perspective. He made his pain, his suffering, and the fears of his past part of his growth. He learned how to express his feelings. Whenever a problem arose, instead of trying to solve it alone, he would share his feelings with others. He connected his feelings to his goals and recognized the strength within himself. He realized that being true to himself, understanding his feelings, and accepting them is the real power. He made the secrets and difficulties of his past part of his identity, and he began to use his weaknesses as a means to move forward towards his dreams. When Aidan embraced emotional strength in his life, his world changed. People began to see in him a courage and self-confidence that he had not had before. His friends and family also began to respect him and appreciate his strength. Aidan understood that accepting his weaknesses and turning them into his strengths is the greatest success in the world. Today, Aidan is a successful motivational speaker. He tells his story to people, teaching them how they can turn their emotional difficulties into their greatest strength. He has created a community on his platform where people find the courage to turn their weaknesses into their strengths. Aidan's journey is a lesson for everyone. Recognizing your emotional fears and weaknesses and making them part of your growth can give you true power. Your greatest weakness, if understood, can become your greatest strength. Accepting your truth is the foundation of true success.